Hi, I'm Rob Boyd, an English photographer from the UK. I decided to create this podcast series talking to international photographers whose work I truly love. I realised I knew nothing about these amazing people apart from their names and their stunning work. So I created a set of hopefully entertaining questions that finds out who they are and what they love. Hi Corna, thanks for being here. Nice to actually see you. That's amazing.
Hi,
if you can start with your name and Instagram name, that'd be amazing.
okay, so it's Corna Fiend is my name. And my Instagram is Corna Fiend Lynham.
Brilliant. And have you got a website?
I don't have a website, no. I'm definitely considering it, but I feel that at the moment, because there's so much else going on, I'm not sure how much time I'd have to dedicate to it. So, but it's something I will look at, and I have to engage somebody to go through it with me.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, it's definitely something to consider. You have a website.
I do, yeah, because I want to link everything. So it's the podcast, the YouTube channel, my photos. It links all together. So it's good for me because it brings everything together. But it's very basic. It's very like me, very simple.
Keep it simple.
Absolutely.
I'm not saying you're simple.
Oh well, I wouldn't be offended if you did. So where do you live?
I live in Dublin. I live in a place called Goatstown, which is South Dublin, from the city centre on a clear road. You'd be talking maybe 20 minutes, half an hour drive. It's a great location. It's suburbs, but it's kind of just on the verge of the city. So it's never too much of a chore. And the community is lovely. It's great. Really nice place to live.
Yeah, I love
I've
Dublin.
been here for 30 years now.
I mean, I only came there once and it was a long weekend, but I made every moment count when I came over. And I went to the beach, which was incredible. I didn't even know you had beaches. I went on the train and went off to the beach. It was a lovely day. I wandered up at stupid o'clock in the morning, wandered around, and I loved it. I loved every second of it. It was great.
Yeah, we've amazing beaches. I recall coming back from Italy one time, and on the plane there was a load of Italian students. And as we were coming in, the sun was blazing out of the skies, and they're all looking out the window, all excited. And the beach is just like vast as we flew in. And I'm sure they were looking, going, and this was July. I'm sure they were like, why is there nobody on the beaches? And when they landed, it was freezing, absolutely freezing. Like the sun was blazing, but it was freezing. So they must be wondering, like, why? Because over there, every beach is rammed,
Yeah, of course.
Oh, but yeah, we beautiful beaches. Unfortunately, a bit like England, the weather isn't always conducive. Maybe a week or two in the year.
I think I got the one day.
We're lucky. I'm lucky where I live because I have the mountains not too far. Literally another 20 minutes, you're at the mountains. And then another 20 minutes or so, you're at the sea. It's brilliant. It's a great location.
Yeah, perfect. Absolutely amazing. Where are you from? Where are you from originally?
I'm from Shannon, County Clare. So Shannon Town or Shannon Airport. So be southwest. So from Limerick, it would be a half an hour drive out into County Clare. So I lived there till I was 9. And then myself and my mother and my brother next to me, we moved to Dublin. My mother just said, I'll have enough of this now. Let's go. She tried the city life out. So when I was 17, then she moved back to Shannon, but I stayed. So I moved in with my oldest brother at the time. And sorry, forgive my croak, my very hoarse. So I lived with them for a year, and then they moved to London, and I got myself a flat, and I lived in the flat for 12 years.
Wow.
And then I ended up here where I am, which is 30 years ago. And town was a new town. It was built purposely around the airport, and it gathered people in from everywhere because the airport was an international airport, so there was plenty of work in an industrial estate as well. And so yeah, it was great. It was a brilliant place to grow up. But the wind.
I was going to say, what a place to build an airport where the wind's the craziest, trying to land.
Good point. Never thought of that one.
No, I don't think they did either.
They mustn't have thought about that.
Crazy.
When the guys were building it, they knew all about it.
So if I visited you, where would you take me to shoot?
If you visited, obviously, Dublin a bit anyway, and it's quite a while since you've been here. Dublin itself, I just love it. It's brilliant. It's a small city. You can get around it pretty handy. People are good vibes. But if I was to bring you somewhere as a tourist, I would definitely bring you to Kilmainham Jail for a bit of history, for great photography. There's great light comes in through there. It's a museum now. And that would be definitely, and I'd have to bring you up to, for a pint of Guinness, the Guinness Hop Store. Definitely. Yeah. Where else would I bring you? I would actually bring you to Limerick. Limerick is a great city for music.
Right, yeah.
And again, I pass through Limerick when I'm going to Shannon, and I always have a wander around, and nearly always I've had good weather and I've had amazing light. So for that alone, the main street, the way the light falls, it's great. But the one place not really street photography wise would be Connemara. If you like beaches, the light in Connemara is absolutely stunning. It has such a grey sky most of the time, but the light that comes off the sea is incredible. The beaches are snow white. So that would be the definite, you're coming with me to Connemara for sure.
Yeah, sounds like a plan to me. Sounds great. Well, I normally ask if
the only thing is you need a donkey. You need a donkey to get there.
Oh, donkey killer, is it? Well, I normally ask if there's anything for tourists, but I think you've listed so many already. I think that's probably covered it. So, what's your favourite destination in the world? Where do you love the most?
Well, I'm a serial Italian visitor.
Mm-hmm.
I went to a lot of places prior to Italy, and when I got to Italy, I went, "This is it. This is home." You know, I just took to it like a duck to water. So I visited quite a lot of different parts of Italy, and all of them, nothing is wrong in Italy. It doesn't matter where you end up. Now I haven't been back since pre-COVID, and I was there every year for 20 years.
Wow.
So that would be my absolute destination. But I would, New York, I'd love to go back to New York. The last time I was in New York was about 1998, I think. I was there once briefly for a weekend, but we used to go over for maybe 2 or 3 weeks, keep on people's couches and just go to dive bars, play pool.
Yeah.
But I would love to actually photograph now. Now I did photograph back then, but I didn't realize the whole street photography thing. And I do have some good shots from then I was using a Pentax K2 at the time. Right. And that was some weight carrying that around. I'm just thinking about it now. So I would love to go back and actually do it differently, really get stuck into it. Yeah. And it has kind of, because I suppose in the 90s was when they were starting to clean it up and so on. So I wasn't seeing enough of the other side, and it was all about going out, of course. Didn't do too much touristy stuff, but we certainly saw the inside of every dive bar. So that was good crack.
Probably good time to do it in the 90s as well, because by the noughties it was all cleaned up,
Yeah, and I mean, I'd love to. The whole 70s thing in New York is such a images I see. That's the New York I would have loved to have seen.
Yeah.
For light, Nice and Lisbon. Yeah. But for colour, I would love to go to Cuba. Yeah. Like colours.
Yeah. Totally get that. That's my number one bucket list one. Yeah, 100%.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. And are you going to get there?
One day, you never know. It's just, you know what it's like. You've got to kind of plan it right, because you need time, at least 3-4 weeks, I would have thought, properly to do it properly.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. So it's just having that kind of time and, budget too.
Have you been to the States?
Yeah, once we went twice actually. So New York and California. So New York was before I was doing photography. Well, they both were. That was 2012. And that's when they were rebuilding the Twin Towers. So it's just they've gone completely.
Yes, you did say that in your podcast.
Yeah, it was ground zero then, yeah. And my cousin lives in San Diego, so we went to San Diego for 10 days, which wasn't long enough, but it was nice to see him. Yeah.
Yeah, actually, I did that New York, LA thing a few times. Again, it was friends living in both places, so it was handy having somewhere to sleep. And we used to drive from LA to Vegas. So that drive was amazing. Now, I'd love to do that again, but actually do the Route 66 version of it.
Sure.
But not so much getting in around the canyon and all that. That's amazing, obviously. But I'm more into the gas stations and the diners. Ooh, that alone for me was like, I'll never forget seeing them for real.
Yeah.
I went the first time 1990. It was just amazing. So I had been in New York up in 1990 to 98 at different times. So I managed to get a photograph up the Twin Towers. And that was kind of, I knew the only way for me to get that shot was to actually lie down on the ground. And I did. And I'm glad I did.
Yeah.
Because I have the shot and we don't have that, obviously.
No.
I'm not the only one that has a shot of the Twin Towers, of course. There's plenty of them.
Yeah. But it's for your own personal history, you know. That's the thing. Yeah.
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 It's a good memory.
Yeah. So where would you most like to visit in the world? Would it be Cuba, or have you visited Cuba, did you say?
Well, yes, certainly for something completely different. Cuba would be fascinating. It is fascinating anytime you see any of it, because it has the old Americana. So it has those vibes that I love from America, and it has all the amazing colours. And I believe the people are really nice, really cool, and they don't mind being photographed, which is great.
It's big
bonus. You see, as a photographer now, I mean, I always had it in me, but I just didn't realise the situation or the dream of it as such until when I started shooting around 20, it was around during COVID, early COVID. I think a lot of people kind of took to the streets and started documenting different things. And it was in that then that I got the feel for street photography. Again, it was more about buildings, objects rather than people until I kind of started following different photographers on Instagram, seeing what they were doing. How would I do that? How would I literally go up or just a camera in front of somebody and take them? I'd take the back of them, but taking the front of them, you know, was never going to be a thing I never thought I would do. But no problem with that now. So Cuba would be, and funny enough, there was this Pure Street Photography Festival in Mumbai in January, and I had a photograph in that. And of course, the invitation was there to go. I just couldn't. But I started looking into Mumbai and it looked fascinating. And I think that would be somewhere where I'd really like to go to.
Yeah, it's definitely up on the big list of everybody, you know, they speak to. Mumbai is definitely one of those. 100%. Yeah. Yeah, cool. So if you could time travel, where and when would you visit?
I would say I would be, because I'm mad about Art Deco. I'm mad about the whole American movie, Fred Astaire, Ginger Rogers, the whole lot, the dancing, the vibe of it all. So I think that the 30s, kind of 20s, 30s, 40s would be the time I would be into. And simply, as much as I'm into street photography, I love geometry. So that would be perfect time. And I wouldn't mind kind of having an old dance there with Fred, you know. So, that would be the time I would really, that's where my heart is. I always felt I was born in the wrong era. I grew up listening to so much rock and roll with all those old movies from my mother and my older siblings. It was just pure. That's why getting to America was such a big thing. It's like that dream was being realized, and I was seeing a diner. Imagine, you know.
Yeah, absolutely. That's amazing. So if you could photograph anyone in history, who would you shoot?
Back to that time would be Vivian Leigh, the actress Vivian Leigh, Gone with the Wind and the rest. Yeah. Her eyes are incredible. And I love when I'm doing portraits, which you don't see a lot of. I have a million of them and I need to start putting them up. I'm very much focused on getting the eyes. And I mean, I'm sure all photographers are, but that connection, and I like to get the reflection if I can, but her eyes just spoke. So she is most definitely. And Grace Jones, wouldn't she be brilliant?
Yeah, I think she might be one. I think you might need a broomstick to kind of calm her down a bit, but you know.
He has the structure though, you know, there's that structural thing that I'm talking about. It's like,
apparently she's a pussycat if you get her in the right mood. But if she's not in the right mood, you're having none of it.
Oh,
Apparently.
no, that'd be a tough one.
So tell me a fun fact or a story about yourself.
A fun fact. Okay, just one.
Well,
Okay. So my name, Corna, is not actually a name. It's a name of a place. So
okay.
the place in County Cavan called Corna. So think of a townsland or a small village called Rob Boyd. So when in Shannon, because there were so many people working in the airport, a lot of the houses had lodgers. We were no exception. There was about, I don't know how many people lived in our house. So the men would go up to the airport to work. They'd come home and there'd be a big pot of potatoes on the middle of the table and a lump of bacon and cabbage. And one of those people was a man called Paddy Grew, and he was from Cavan, from Cornafane. So if you take the name Boyd, and when you were born and somebody said, oh, by the way, there's a town called Rob Boyd, why don't you call him Rob? That's exactly what happened. So I'm actually named after a signpost. It's a tiny little, what's referred to as a townsland. And there were, when I looked it up when I was about 14, there are about 280 townslands in Ireland, starting with Corna.
Right.
So, I looked up what the meaning of Corna is, and it's fair land. That's what it means. So there you have it. If you Google Cornafane, you will most likely not come across me, but will come across the place itself or something related to the place, like the pub, like the pigeon put, or the athletes from the GAA, football and stuff like that. So that's where I put in the line a bit, because otherwise, when you would look me up, you would be getting the town as
there
opposed to me.
Going to break the internet now. We'll all be looking it up.
Exactly. Now look up their circumference there, will you?
Yeah, that's cool. That's amazing. Love it.
So that's I suppose it's a unique fact. It's a unique name. There are no other.
Yeah. Amazing. It's nice to be unique. Nice to be original. Definitely.
Yeah, well, there you go. It's quite a story, really, isn't it?
Absolutely. It's amazing. So, what's your favorite
word? Okay. So again, it's impossible to have one. So I'll take it because I'm from Shannon and I'm from Dublin. For Shannon, the word would be gowl, Gowl.
Okay.
So it derives from ancient, even going back to Arabic, which we have some connection with with the Irish language, Arabic. There's some major connections there. But anyway, this word gowl, which probably meant something quite derogatory back in the day, but it turns into you're an awful idiot, which is another idiot. You'd say he's a right gowl, that fella, as in
yeah. Yeah.
Then the other one from Dublin, when we say deadly or massive, they're not really deadly or massive in the context that you might know. Deadly means it's really good.
Okay.
As opposed to really bad. So your shoes are deadly, something like that. And then the other word, massive, again, we don't use it as in something that's big. It's big in the sense of, again, your shoes are massive, as in gorgeous, So they're the two Dublin ones. And I know from your podcast, you said that fuckwit was something that you liked. And that's brilliant. I think it's a great one. And again, it's used in terms of endearments as well.
Absolutely. Complete fuckwit,
Well, yeah, absolutely. Or a complete gowl.
Absolutely.
Same difference.
Yeah, I love it. Yeah, it's amazing. So, because it's an international podcast, teach me a new saying or a new thing that I may not know. That's, a saying of some description rather than a word.
Yeah, it's the explanation of Aegis, which I don't know. Do you use that word Aegis?
No, not often. Only when I hear Irish people use it. Same as feckin'.
Yeah, so that would be a word that would be used so much. Again, it's a nice way of saying idiot. So that whole kind of phrase of he's an awful idiot altogether. That is kind of where I would y- go with that
Yeah.
one, where I would leave that open because you
Yeah.
can actually just use it in any way you like. And I
Yeah.
think it's great because it can be soft or as hard as you want it to be.
Depends how
With some Irish.
yeah. Brilliant. Love it. So when did photography click for you? Obviously, excuse the pun, but when did you realize you could take a good photo?
You see, it goes back an awful long time. It was my brothers were into it, and the Pentax that I have is originally one of my older brothers had it, and he had it for some years, and then he sold it to another brother, and in 1990 that brother was selling it, and I was like, "That's not leaving the family. That is all we have of any credibility." So I said, right, I'll buy it. So I scraped the money together somehow and I got the camera then. So that was 1990. So I had it with me all the time, but it became too expensive. I just couldn't afford the developing of the pictures. They had a dark room in Shannon in the bathroom. They turned it
Right.
into a dark room. But here in Dublin, that wasn't feasible. There was no way I was going to be able to do that. So I put it down. I didn't really realize that I had that in me until, around that COVID time when smartphones got smart and
Yeah.
you could take decent pictures. And I was just around town. And then I started to put a few pictures up on Instagram. And I wasn't really following any photographers at the time, but other friends who would have been kind of into it or so on saying, wow, that's a great shot. You have a great eye. And that's really when I started to go, yeah, I do. But I always had this thing where I would be somewhere and next thing I'd be like with my framing something, putting the finger around the eye and framing and people
Yeah.
going, what are you doing? And I'm
Easy.
like, yeah, but you can't see. So my eye was always looking, and especially at glass and reflection. I'd always be seeing beyond that.
Yeah.
People see me in town and they're looking at me. And if I get the weird enough look or whatever, especially when you're shooting into something and you can't actually see the people behind the glass because you're
Yeah.
picking up on all the reflections.
Yeah.
And I realized then they're going, what's she doing? So I would go in and go, I'm just taking photographs of the reflection. I said, here, have a look. You're not in it. And they can't believe that I was
Yeah.
shooting right at them and that they're not in the picture,
Yeah.
So
It's
that
another
was
world.
really,
I mean, that's the
pardon?
thing. It's just another world. It's just when you get reflections and everything from there, it's just it creates just it's like looking under the sea. It's like putting your mask on and looking at the fish under the sea. You don't see it on top, but as soon as you get that glass and the reflection, that's it. You're off.
Oh yeah, it's mad. It's unbelievable,
Yeah.
and that was going on for a long time without me taking photographs. I was just looking at the layers and layers of stuff. So yeah, it was great. The smartphone was brilliant for kind of setting the tone.
Yeah.
Because you have it all the time. You're there, you're with it.
Yeah.
And I said to you that I can't get from here to the local shop, which is 3 minutes away, without taking at least like 20 or 30 photographs of pretty much nothing. Another plant, another whatever, or there's a
Yeah.
car parked and there's a reflection on it, So yes, I need to dump a lot of stuff.
That's great. So this is the hardest part now. This is your favorite 3 photos and why you like them.
I was like, how could you ask me that?
It's a hard one. And the thing is, you can only do what you're feeling at the time. I know.
It's a hard one, but I suppose where I would start is there's a photograph that I took probably around 2022, and there was a great place in town, a Japanese restaurant and karaoke bar, and I'll bring you down there. It's changed, unfortunately, but the windows were wide, nothing in the windows, basically. So it was on the corner of a street. So 2 windows met together with a very thin frame on a corner. And the photographs you could get there were just incredible. And it's one of the favorite spots. It was one of the favorite spots for photographers. So, I was there one day and I was scouting for something to come along and I saw a lady walking up the street, one street. So I'm on the other side. I'm looking at the woman coming towards me. I'd spotted her down the street, hoping she'd keep coming straight forward. and she was wearing red. The frame and the windows were red. The tables and chairs were red. So I was going to match that off with a double reflection as she went by. So I'd get her on both sides of the window. So I did. And while I was doing that, I was focusing, waiting for her. I noticed people when they were walking by, they were splitting. They would narrow into nothing, like just barely as they went by that frame. Hard to describe it. I'll show you what I'm talking about when you come over. And at that point, when I took the photograph, somebody walked by the corner of the frame. She walked up the street. I caught her in a split situation, but this person was like right in the middle of the frame, and they could just see the outline of one side of them and the outline of the other side. So in the middle, they didn't exist.
Yeah.
I couldn't believe I actually got that, because it's such a fast, as they're walking by, it's very fast. So it's catching it was quite the thing. So that's my favorite photograph.
Yeah.
For that reason. And then the other, I got to pick, because I do a few different things portrait wise. I've lots of them I love, but I think the one that got me to Milan last year, to the Street Festival, is one I took just off Grafton Street of a girl wearing these big yellow glasses with a black heavy frame. And I saw her down the street at the flower stall, and I just went, oh my God, look at her. Okay. And I ran for it. I don't run, by the way. But I think I was like, I gotta move fast. And I went straight in with the camera, and she was like point blank, and I just went click. And she was on her phone, and she just looked up and went, surprised. And I caught that picture. Then I have a couple of other pictures of her, and she's laughing her head off because, the way I caught her.
There's a mad woman.
She looked amazing. Yeah, I told her she looks amazing, and she caught my eye, and she was delighted with the compliment. And so I love that particular picture. I had another one that I was thinking of. Oh yeah, one that was it's black and white, and it was in the Dublin Castle where the Christmas fair was on. So it was a carousel, and somebody is just right in the frame as I'm taking the picture of the carousel. So they're right close up and just walking into it and a little bit blurred. So that would be, because there's so many different layers in it. I think it's one of my favorites, one of the favorite black and whites.
Yeah. And the nice thing about it, well, yeah, but there are three varied ones. That's the nice thing. All three are different. So that's what's nice. You've got that variety in what you're doing. So it's great. Yeah, love it.
Yeah. And that's the thing. Like, I really only honed in on the street photography side 2 years ago. I said, right, I need to pick something and stick with that. I love everything. Nothing is sacred. If it needs a photograph taken of it, I'll do it.
Yeah.
But I just decided, because that's where I like being most, is out in the street. So with that came the kind of focus on one genre.
Yeah. But you never get bored if you like, say, shoot a flower, shoot something else, shoot whatever catches your eye. You're never going to get bored ever.
Never. Couldn't be bored with, and I walk down the little, the street here in suburbia, and I'm like, don't do it, Corna. Stop taking the photographs of the flowers. Stop now. Just walk. There is no such thing as a walk.
Yeah, but you could
My
get
friends
gold.
are like, where are you? I was like, I just got distracted. I'll follow you on now.
Yeah, brilliant. Love it. So what advice would you give a new photographer?
Well, first of all, I think if anybody really thinks of taking up photography, most people will have something in them that's already there. So like with myself, the phone was like a gift. And that's the thing. If you're really into photography, you're not just taking a photograph here and there. You're doing it all the time. So just do it. Just go for it. If they were thinking of getting into street, and I know I've had a few conversations with people, and I can see that they're a bit nervous about getting stuck into somebody's, face, not stuck into it, but taking them face on. And people are amazingly giving, actually. I can't believe how easy it is. And if people do question it, if you compliment them, they love you.
Yeah.
And if you do get into it and you actually stop people and ask them, most people will say yes. It's remarkable.
Yeah.
I remember doing my first workshop with Brendan O'Shea, and he said to me, because I was a bit like, oh, I'm just using my phone. He said, that doesn't matter. Do you know how to use your phone? Do you know how to take a photograph? So he said, basically, it doesn't matter what you have. You just have to be ready. There's
Yeah.
2 rules: clean lens and be ready.
Yeah.
That's all. Because if you're taking the camera out and you're trying to you'll miss the moment. So that was great. And that's what I would say to anybody who's thinking they have something and that's what they love to do. Because you will love it. If you don't love it, you're not really, I don't think you are a photographer. You'd like to take pictures. That's absolutely fine. But it's, yourself, it's in your gut.
Yeah.
The other side then would be, if you do kind of decide to work your way up to something more than your mobile phone, I would say go handy, start small.
Yeah.
Go, buy a used camera. I recently just took out the Pentax again after 30 years. And I went out on a photo walk with Des Byrne and the gang around town. And I said, you know what, I'm just going to give it a lash. The thing is in bits and it has fungus in the lens and there's a spider living in there since 1976 or so. And my brother said, I can't believe that spider's there still. It owes rent. Anyway, I was stuck on 1600. I couldn't get it off 1600. Went into the camera shop in town. I said, can you move this? They're like, no. And then they were giving me a 400 film. And I said, what'll I do? And he said, just shoot it. It was a really wet day. He said, try shooting it at 125, 250, and we'll see how you get on. And I did. And remarkably, they came out quite well. I'm actually going to put them up on Instagram one of these days, just the whole lot of them, just claiming I had nothing to do with this,
Easy,
so I'm going to get
easy
it.
Solution. That's the thing. If they know the solution of, there's always a way around it. If you can't change your dial, then, find
and
another.
I did do a bit of Googling, with regard to because it's a long time since I used it. So I'd forgotten an awful lot of stuff too, with manual. So I love it and I'm going to get it repaired. And it was really, it's a different dynamic using manual. You really have to slow it down a bit.
Yeah.
You have to kind of be in situations rather than kind of something fleeting.
Yeah. You certainly won't be able to can't use burst mode. I mean, I don't use it anyway, but you see people with, 10, 15
mode
shots.
Is great, because, you get 60 frames and you've got one, hopefully, out of that. Yeah.
Brainwave.
It's which one? What do you shoot with?
I've got my first and only camera. So I've got an old Canon. It's cost me 130 quid. I described it smelt of fags and wet wipes when I got it. It's got a kit lens and I just keep using it all the time. I can't part with it. I can't upgrade. I can't do anything. I just love it. It's brilliant. But it's only
Yeah, well,
so, you've got to work hard for it. That's what I like.
Yeah, well, that's a good point. Having to learn a bit. You don't have to learn a huge amount, but you just learn the basics and then start practicing. And, from that one stint a few weeks ago, I had 6 shots left and I brought it out. I led with the photo walk then just at the end of February. And I said, right, I'm taking it out because I'm dying to see what these pictures are like. So that day was sunny and I had it on auto. Right. I never checked and they didn't come out so good, No. They came out, so, but nonetheless, I still like them. There's about 4 who are absolute blanks. There's nothing happening there. So I would say to any friend, let's go and just do it. Doesn't matter what you have. If you can borrow a camera, practice with it, or just use your phone.
Yeah, perfect advice. Brilliant. So what you got going next? What's coming up? What you doing?
What's coming up? So, I have, every month there's a street photo walk in town with Des Byrne and that gang. So that's always given, so you can go out and have a bit of fun with those, which is great, great bit of camaraderie. As you know, we're on our own a lot, so it's a bit of fun. There's nobody really interested in taking a lot of photographs. It's all talk. Yeah. But I've got the Dublin Street Photography Festival coming up, the Maybank holiday weekend, which you're coming over for, which is great. Yeah,
absolutely. Yay. Definitely. Yeah.
No, that's brilliant. You could work around. I know you were saying you had to work, but you managed something. Where there's a will, there's a way.
Absolutely.
So with that, I will work at it as a volunteer, or I have done for the last 2 years. So I would be there in situ, just kind of keeping an eye on the exhibitions. If people are asking questions, I'll direct them. There's not a lot. You walk around, you look at stuff, the names are there. But it's really just keeping an eye. It's great fun there. There's so many talks, and obviously all the people you meet that you know from Instagram. It's
Yeah.
brilliant to meet up with them. Amazing how kind of like-minded we all are. It's
Yeah.
incredible. And the greatest privilege last year was Martin Parr was there,
Sure.
and just that was phenomenal. And just watching him, and he's on the walker, and he's going around, and nothing was a problem. Everybody was talking to him. He talked to everybody. He was down the pub. I just
Yeah.
went, geez, like he was an inspiration in that alone. And so his teaching was quite extensive. So we needed somebody on that all the time. And then on the Sunday, I have my own photo walk with them.
Yeah.
So I'm looking forward to that. There will be a gang of us hitting the streets of Dublin, which I have to work out now, the route. You know, the thing about it is we all kind of really do the same routes, and it's very hard to drag away from that because inevitably people want to end up in Temple Bar or Grafton Street because there's so many people around. You can get a lot of great shots, through that. So that would be, I'm looking forward to that. That's going to be fun. And they
Yeah.
are just fun. That's what it is.
Yeah.
People getting out, meeting new people and our old friends and doing what we do. But
Yeah.
it's gas when we hit this route. We all hit the street last year with a badass, and Agnes did one. And there was 150 photographers on the street, and
Yeah.
people are just, what's going on?
Yeah.
So people were really up for it, and it was brilliant vibe. So
Yeah.
that's really what I'm coming up. Beyond that, I don't know. Actually, I hadn't thought about that.
No,
Tell you
that's
what,
fair enough. But that's the thing, it's getting up to a certain. They're still up to May anyway. It's like once
I
it's
know.
May, that's it. Be crazy.
It
Then you
is.
got
I mean, there's other festivals coming up that I'd love to go to, and they may be something that could happen. I really want to get to the London Festival with Street Badass at the end of May. Right now, it's it's in the balance. We'll see.
Yeah.
Hopefully.
Yeah. Brilliant. Yeah, brilliant. Well, I'm glad we made this happen. I love your work. I've told you too many times already.
Yeah, no, it's great. It's brilliant. We finally got it together.
Yeah, same. Yeah. So thanks for being my guest. I really appreciate you being here. I love your work, and have a lovely evening.
Thank you. Thank you. Great to be here. I really appreciate it. Thanks, Rob.